people who cover us all the time. So he'll start with an opening statement on KD and take a couple of questions, realizing we're not going to have more answers until tomorrow. So go ahead and start, Bob.
Kevin had it's an Achilles injury. I don't know the extent of it. He'll have an MRI tomorrow. Prior to coming back, he went through 4 weeks with our medical team, and it was thorough, and it was experts and multiple MRIs and multiple doctors. And we felt good about the process. He was cleared to play tonight. That was a collaborative decision. I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand this world. And if you have to, you can blame me. I run our basketball operations department. And let me tell you something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to play basketball, and the people that questioned whether he wanted to get back to this team were wrong. And I'm not here to... He's one of the most misunderstood people. He's a good teammate. He's a good person. It's not fair. I'm lucky to know him. I don't know, I don't have all the information on what really, the extent of what it all means until we get an MRI. But the people that worked with him and cleared him are good people. They're good people.
Mark, first question in the front.
Bob, Mark, Medina Barry, News Group. With all due respect, what's your reasoning to say to point the finger at you?
I am the president of basketball. If you have to. And I don't think there's anybody to blame, but I get it. That stuff happens. I hope nobody does. I don't think it should land on anybody, but if you feel like you need to.
Anything else?
Ann in the middle.
So I'm watching this the same as you are, and I'm looking at Tim Legler, and the emotion is it's just so unusual to see, because you're dealing with someone who's dealing with an injury, and he's saying, if you want to blame somebody, blame me. I want to welcome in Brian Windhorst here, and Brian, you've been covering this throughout, and there's been, you know, a bit of secrecy, which I understand, because it doesn't benefit them or anyone else for all of the information to be out. But it's clear that Myers is saying, hey, look, like he'd been cleared, and we couldn't know that this was going to happen. How are you processing what you're hearing from the Warriors GM?
Well, Scott, I was in the Warriors locker room area all night again, just like I was last week. And the doctors' faces were ashen when Kevin came back there. You could feel, it was almost like it was a mini funeral back there. And he limped out midway through the third quarter. You don't leave a game of this magnitude. This is a guy who's been cheering his team along the whole time. He just wanted to get out of there. You could feel that it was really bad. His agent, Rich Kleiman, was white as a ghost. I mean, you could just feel how bad it was. And, you know, the difficulty on this, and you're talking about blame, you know, I'm not a sports scientist. I bet you could ask 10 sports scientists and you get 10 different answers. They play him 12 of the first 14 minutes. I don't know whether that has an impact on weakening the injury.
Right.
He had this injury really because he was playing 46 minutes a game, I think, in the Houston series, and it sort of led to this. And so they really rode him hard this year. They didn't have backup wings. They elected to sign DeMarcus Cousins because, they instead of a wing. So you could go all the way down the line and find 15 different places here. At the end of the day, it's just a terrible story. And Scott, I don't mean to take the focus off tonight, but the NBA just changed. The NBA just changed. Next year, there's teams crawling all over themselves to get Durant. There's going to be this pecking order. There's teams making trades to clear salary cap space. The thought was he was going to be available on the market. In addition to this series, the entire NBA just changed tonight.
And that's with the presumption that if it's an Achilles injury that would shelf him for a year. I understand that. But I'm looking just the big picture about a guy in Durant. And it was interesting today that the Rucker Park video was making the rounds on social media. And you remember the joy he had in that night. He goes into Rucker, scores 60 some odd. This is a guy who, as Bob said, and it's true, he just loves to play basketball. Like, that's what he does. And so I would imagine to some degree, as great as he is and loving to play as much as he does, and down 3-1, if he can go, he's going to try to go. So I don't know how you protect someone with that competitive spirit and that level of talent who loves to play from playing. And that's not a question, it's just a statement. I'm sorry.
He was so into it. I mean, he scores 11 points in 12 minutes. At one point, he took a hard fall and he popped back up. In warm-ups, pregame warm-ups, when he came out here, the fans were paying attention to every single shot that he made, and to sort of send them a message, he threw down a dunk. I mean, he was reveling in his ability to contribute in this game. They got up that huge lead early on. They really feel like getting a win tonight was like a win and a half, because in the 2-2-1-1-1 format, you go home with momentum and go home with Durant, with Oracle in the last game. He was so fired up to play in this game. And to have that moment happen is why everybody associated, even though this was a championship on the line, it's one of the incredible finishes in recent NBA history, everybody associated with this game feels sick right now because they all know what this means. All of those players know that he must now carry this injury onward. The game is over, but he's going to carry this injury onward. He's going to be the one who has to deal with it.
Yeah, and I don't care who you root for, even if you're a Raptors fan. That first quarter was breathtaking. That's what you want to see, the best in the world going toe-to-toe and head-to-head, and they were. And then, to your point, Durant leaves and then leaves the building with the injury, and we'll wait for definitive information on that. Brian, thanks. As always, you've been great on this throughout. We'll talk again, all right? All right, that's Brian Windhorst. All right, as we continue on, we owe you that Nick Nurse sound on what the idea was there late for Lowry. Tim Legler is going to diagram that. Also, Steph Curry will be stopping by to